A few years ago, Capcom released a game called 1942 Joint Strike, an updated reboot of one of their most beloved arcade franchises. The shoot-'em-up attempted to bring old-school action to the 21st century with high-definition visuals and bigger explosions. It was a solid shooter that looked good and played well, but it failed to recapture the magic of the series and has since been largely forgotten. In a lot of ways, Skyforce Anniversary is the 1940X reboot Capcom should have made. It's a retro throwback that remembers exactly why those old-school shoot-'em-ups were so much fun, while still giving modern gamers something to get excited about. The developers have not only nailed the look, but added just enough hooks to keep me replaying the levels over and over until I collected everything. Skyforce Anniversary is an action-packed remake of the 2004 mobile phone game from Infinite Dreams. Normally, this would be a red flag that we're getting a second-rate shooter, but that's not the case here. This isn't one of those bite-sized handheld games for the casual market, but rather an addictive shoot-'em-up that's as big, if not bigger, than the games I typically review. I found myself binging Skyforce Anniversary until the sun came up, something I rarely do with this genre. After one of our best pilots is shot down, we spring into action to rescue the survivors and take out the evil General Mantis once and for all. We do this by shooting our way through 9 colorful stages, collecting all the stars and then using them to upgrade our ship. This is the kind of game where we start out with a weak pea shooter and then work our way up by adding side cannons, homing missiles, lasers, and more. After grinding for stars and upgrading your ship, you'll finally be ready to finish the fight. Part of what kept me coming back is that each stage has a set of 4 objectives. The game wants you to kill 70% of the enemy ships, 100% of the fleet, rescue all of the stranded pilots, and, if that wasn't hard enough, do it all without taking any damage. The good news is that you won't have to do this all at once, and a lot of the fun is replaying the stages to complete each objective. If you can finish all 4 tasks, another 4 will pop up, along with a harder version of that stage. The trick is that there are a lot of objectives, and even more upgrades to buy. You'll spend hours throwing money into new guns, armor, and special attacks. And while that normally would feel like a drag, I had a great time replaying these stages with a more powerful ship. It's easy and quick to earn a lot of stars, so the game is good about making you feel like you're constantly becoming more capable of taking on the General's fleet. It helps that the jungle setting is easy on the eyes. Instead of flying all over the world, the stages in Skyforce are all connected and fit the theme. You don't magically jump from a sand level to the frozen tundra. We simply fly over the sea, through the woods, and deep into the General's base. I like how they make each level stand out, giving us more to do than simply shooting at airplanes and boats. For example, there's one stage where a missile will follow your every move, forcing us to stay in motion and keep as far away from that missile as possible. One hit will cripple your plane, taking your weapons offline and forcing you to do nothing but dodge enemy fire. For as much fun as I had fighting through Skyforce Anniversary, there are moments that reminded me that this started out as a mobile phone game. I was a little disappointed that the developers decided to constantly reuse bosses instead of making new ones for each stage. And it's also disappointing that the various missions don't change from one stage to the next. There's a repetition to the task that wears thin by the time you get to the final boss. I suspect a lot of the grinding required will also split the audience, as you'll need to replay each stage dozens of times to fully upgrade your plane. This is good for the longevity of the game, but I have a hunch that some will just want to play straight through from beginning to end without all the grinding. While I found this aspect of the game to be addicting, I do wish it was a little faster to upgrade the core weapons. Even with all the grinding, I never grew sick of shooting down the General's best men. It's not especially original, and you'll see the same bosses a few too many times. But Skyforce Anniversary seems to understand what made those classic shoot-'em-ups so hard to put down. This is easily one of the best shooters I've played this year. Hi, thanks for watching our review. We end the week just before we started it, with a vertical shoot-'em-up. In case you're just now tuning in, we've had a busy week where we reviewed Doggos, Tadpole Treble, and 140, and then we previewed Don't Crawl. Oh, and we also counted down the best reviewed Super NES launch games. We have more reviews lined up for next week, so I recommend you click the subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.